Does the topic of estate planning have you nervous to even think about it? All the different schedules, the cost. What if you knew that you had a one-stop shop where you could have it all taken care of in one place? Join us as we sit down with Epic Services Company and Carter Wilcoxson, who's going to explain how to streamline the entire process. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever and whenever you are listening to this podcast. Another episode of the IRA Cafe, powered by American IRA. I'm Kyle Moody with the sales team, and once again, glad to be together with all of you today. Thank you so much for your time to take a few minutes to learn something new and exciting. As you know, we always like to bring great information to all of you, whether you are an advisor, whether you are an independent investor, wherever you are in your journey of your investment objectives. We like to bring these educational series and any of the information that we can share to make your outlook better and brighter. Today's guest is definitely going to add to that, and we will get to him in just a second. Always remember that for this and any of your educational experiences with American IRA, you can always check us out on our website at www.americanira.com. You can also find us on YouTube. Scroll through and subscribe to that channel. Watch anything that you'd like. And for any of your social media interest, whether that's Facebook or Instagram, look us up on there. Save us, like us, and follow along with any and all of the educational pieces. And we greatly, greatly appreciate you for that. Always want to bring you some good quality tidbits there. Well, without further delay, I want to introduce our guest for today, Carter Wilcoxson. He's the founder and CEO of Epic Services. And we're really excited to hear about this today because Carter, would I be correct in that your company really takes a one-stop shop approach for, and really what I've been looking at is estate planning. So that is one aspect that we're going to be looking at today for obviously our self-directed clients. That is one piece that they are always concerned about when they're putting together their self-directed retirement account and always looking to the future of their investing. So right now, folks, I want to say hello to Carter. Carter, thank you for joining us. And just like for you to introduce yourself, give us a little bit of history on you and what has led you to Epic.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you so much for having me today. And I really do appreciate it as we're, time stamping this a little bit. We're coming into the Thanksgiving season, the holiday season, which is kind of apropos for the journey that, estate planning really ties into that normal family time. And as, some of your listeners are thinking about, their own family members, that's what really got me started down this path in the first place. It was an experience that happened during Christmas. I had met my wife's family. She lives in Southern California. And I found out that there was some family fracturing that had occurred whenever her grandmother and grandfather passed away, the matriarch and the patriarch. And it ended up causing infighting between siblings. And the reasons why is, it's not to go too deep into that, but it was really a call to action for me early on before I was even in the space. This is 23 years ago, before I was ever even in the financial services world. But I saw how it affects families, how it affects family members, how it affects cousins and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles. And someone that's very much a family-oriented individual as I am, I've got two amazing children, 23 and 19, Caitlin and Carter Samuel. And, the last thing I want to have happen is infighting between family members. So I thought to myself, man, there's got to be a better way. And that's what led me down this path originally on helping predominantly the mass affluent demographic. And I can categorize that as somewhere between 500,000 to 5 million, a very underserved demographic around that subject matter, what we call in the industry estate and legacy planning. But it really comes down to what we have reframed it as family succession planning. And if you don't have the proper things in place to have a successful estate plan, then it will fail, and that will cause irreparable damage and tear ultimately at the fabric of America, as far as I'm concerned, whenever families have these types of fractions that happen. So that was sort of my infancy in the beginning of what led me to start and found Epic Services Company some 6 years ago now, to help financial advisors predominantly help their clients in this subject matter to make them look like the hero of the story because of the procrastination that inevitably has been happening. Because the one thing that we've learned over the years of doing this, working through the advisor network, is that people aren't doing this because they don't know they need to do it. They just need a resource that they can trust to get this type of work done. So that's where we come in, and we fill those gaps and become basically a partner in the client journey with the advisors that we work at throughout the country.
Fantastic. No, and that's great. And that's kind of leading me into one of the things as I was researching and looking at things. And of course, after you and Earl and I have talked on different, from time to time. So folks, when you heard me say earlier or allude to this, that this was a one-stop shop, look, we're just getting into this. And so a lot of these things, we probably won't even be able to cover everything today. And I can go ahead and let you know, we're excited about having Carter, who's going to be doing a full-blown presentation of Epic and what the whole program looks like. So I don't want to speed through this and look towards the presentation that we're going to get from him on our webinar that will be coming up. But to talk about the different advisors, how this is put together for advisors, attorneys, investment advisors, and those professionals, and then funding specialists. It seems that it's like the Swiss Army knife of the trust in future space for folks as they are planning their estate. One of the things that I appreciated hearing you talk about is that you were giving the accessibility, connectivity, and really the personal touch. And to your point, maybe folks that think if they are not in the most affluent sectors out there, is that they may not receive that personal touch. And at American IRA, that's what we strive to give our clientele. So if you can a little bit, tell us a little bit about how you started putting Epic together, from everything, your thought process that you saw that there was a need, but we're only talking, as you said, about 6 years. Tell us a little bit about how that formulated and how you started bringing together all the different professions to make this one great product.
Yeah, so that's such a great question, and thank you for asking it. So my backstory about how I really started going down this path prior to that personal experience that had happened to me and my wife's family, obviously my family now, is I had started working with as a wholesaler of an organization that recruited financial advisors to a platform around risk and tax mitigation solutions, what we call IULs and index annuities. And I had partnered with, or I had recruited a very successful estate planning attorney in Covington, Louisiana. And during her doing some business with me as a wholesaler, she recognized my expertise in that lane and her expertise in the estate planning world. So she asked me to go into business with her effectively. Now, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. This is 12 years ago. She lives in Covington, Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. A very successful estate planning practice. And what happened was I would fly out to her office once a month, and for an entire week, she would put her clientele in front of me in 2-hour windows for 5 straight days. And I would incorporate life insurance and annuity solutions, i.e. tax and mitigation solutions. And I thought to myself at the time, man, what a great business model. If you could somehow find a way to replicate this. Now, this was way before podcasts were really a thing, or virtual meetings, or pre-COVID, obviously, way before that. So I would have to fly out there and meet with her. But I thought, if I could leverage that, if I could be able to bring in an estate planning attorney, a financial advisor, a solution on the back end, and insurance carriers that provided those types of solutions, I thought, man, that would be an incredible business model. Well, that's what culminated in Epic Services Company being started pre-COVID and right into COVID. We were delivering, on an estate planning digital platform for advisors around the subject matter, and then tying in the marketing and branding that they need to deliver what we call the 3 E's, where they educate, enlighten, and empower a room full of people that we get into an educational venue, be it a library or some sort of a community center, at some sort of educational venue. We fill the room for them where they are trained on how to deliver these holes in this family succession planning mystique, right? This mysterious part of getting your affairs in order, as we call it. And when they deliver those 3 E's, they're under these favorable circumstances to then take them through our estate planning service on a digital platform without them having to feel overwhelmed with needing to know everything. They still meet virtually with one of our estate planning attorneys, and they become the relationship manager or quarterback that then gives them the ability to look like the hero of the story of the clients who have ultimately been procrastinating for way too many years, or in some instances, something years ago, and now they need to make some sort of updates or changes or whatever. So it's a very comprehensive estate plan that we put together, where we put the advisor right in the center of a team of specialists in our multidisciplinary team approach that then facilitates on the back end. And that's really how we got to where we're at today, some 6 years later. Very well received by the marketplace today. And no matter where advisor is or their client, we can assist them.
Did you know, and this may be a little redundant, but did you know that it was going to be as digital as it was? Or like you said, leading up to COVID, I didn't even know the word Zoom, except maybe to run faster. That's what my toddler did, right? So did you know that really it was going to be this virtual based before COVID kind of took over and made everything go this way anyway?
Yeah, it was so interesting because that was actually a huge benefit for us. We were already doing this, right? We were already doing an electronical digital platform pre-COVID, right? Because we wanted to help clients meet them where they're at, right? And the local communities that advisors were trying to win what I call the relationship war. We wanted to give them the amount of tools that they needed to win those clients over using this subject matter. And then COVID hit and it accelerated everything that we did. So the acceptance of doing things online, post COVID, right? FaceTime and Google Meets and Zoom meetings and everything. Now that actually just made our job even easier than it was before.
That's one of these things where you always say, I wish I had, or I wish I could do. And then God shows his sense of humor and says, well, how about this COVID thing? And then, you just never know where the answers or the blessings of those are going to pop up. And I guess that's one of those things to always be ready and always be able to adapt, where not only have you done that with the company, but also it allows your clientele, being those professionals, to now be ready, adapt, and know that this is just a piece, a tool in their professional toolbox that they can use.
Pre-COVID, every one of these educational workshops, these live events that advisors were putting on, like following our process, I had to make a pivot, right? I had to adapt. I had to adjust because when we were having triple digits and continue to get triple digits registrations of people wanting to come and learn and get those 3 E's delivered by our Epic advisors, educate, enlighten, and empower them to stop procrastinating, essentially, right? We were very successful. Then COVID hit, and it forced me to have to start thinking, well, what if we are never able to go to live workshops again? So then we developed an online educational platform that now still coexists with doing live workshops, but we always wanted land and deliver education through the advisor network. So that's part of one of the things that the Epic advisors that have fully adopted our platform and have literally bought into what it is that we have for deliverables for them. That is another component that was born from the COVID issue that happened, simply because I was like, well, if we can't do live events, we can't meet people, one-on-one and press the flesh, as they say, in person. I needed to make a pivot. And then so I built out an entire digital process, even through the educational aspect of it as well, for advisors that now coexist, like I said, alongside the live presentations that our advisors are trained to be able to give as well.
So let me ask you this, that I'm kind of a detailed person, and I like going down the rabbit hole sometimes. So because I've always been an in-person player, whether I'm going to a conference and someone invites me to come talk to a group, whether I'm showing up at our regional meetings, lunch and learns. I mean, it's, it is. I mean, I'm face to face with some one-on-ones, two-on-ones, and then groups of all sizes. So when you had to make that pivot, did you have that? Did you have that person or people already in your stable, so to speak, that became your how you built out this digital platform, or was that something where you said, okay, we need to go find this person now who's going to build this out, or you had the idea, somebody else carried it out? Tell us about, did you have to hire an entire sector to that, or was it really you that put it all together?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to break my arm, pat myself on the back here, but whenever you're in survival mode, which a lot of us were in a business, this is pre-Epic even starting, right? We were doing this with another organization that I ended up divesting from, and then it transitioned into Epic Services Company. But yeah, I had to go out. I had to find the technologies. I had to find the tools. I had to piece it all together. But I have a phenomenal team that's been behind me every step along the way as well, to complement what it is that I was able to go out and find. So no, it didn't exist. I knew it surely it existed somewhere. And I got to tell you, the amount of legwork that I've done, which is why I probably still to this day get up around 3:00 every single morning, because I'm a constant builder. I'm a golfer by trade. And if anybody that's listening is a golfer, you're always tinkering on trying to make your game better one way or the other. Well, I do the same thing with my business. I'm trying to make it better for my advisors, to make it easier for them to, acquire, retain the ideal clients that they want to work with. So yeah, I had to go out and find the different technologies and then try to figure out a way to have this tech stack and piece them all together.
Where Epic is a place for everyone to come together, let's say, for the ultimate betterment of the individuals. Are these contracted Epic advisor employees, or are they professionals in their space that are searching out this kind of platform? Do they look for you? Do you look for them? How do these advisors and these professionals become part of your network? Is that really the right way to ask it?
Yeah, it's the perfect way to ask it. So it's a combination of all of those things. If you're seeing right now on the screen, we have our chief counsel, Sierra Lister, who heads up, all of the customization of the drafting of the documents. She meets with every single advisor's client or her law firm does. So she's a specialist in this field. She's a member of the Nevada Bar, which is where we situs every single one of our, utilizing jurisdictional shopping to have each one of these trusts that are established. And then we have also members of the team that are either 1099 or, contracted out, or actual employees of the company. So it is just coalescing, and it's been coalescing throughout the years. But Sierra's been with us for almost since the very beginning, probably 8 years now. And that's why she's our chief counsel and why she heads up the legal component of it. Every single one of our advisors' clients has a dedicated onboarding specialist on that same page that you may see for our outsourced estate planning team, is a dedicated onboarding specialist. who is an employee or a contracted individual that works for our company. But that's the beauty of what we put together. We help advisors without having to go out and hire staff, just tap into our ecosystem that becomes effectively their staff. And we have everyone on our team has a vested interest in the success of those advisors around this subject matter. And that's what makes our platform completely unique and different in the industry. Yeah. And you're just seeing some of these specialists here that, we've got pulled up on the screen here. All of them are all part of our network and part of our team in one way or another, whether educators.
And they're located all around the country. Is that correct?
All around the country. Yeah. From sea to shining sea.
Gotcha.
Literally from Florida to California.
Well, I remember when Earl reached out to me to, he had done some research, found out about us, and it was a great conversation because, as we shift into, when you start talking about the complete package of trusts and winding down and really those tough conversations, money is a big background to that. It may have been the thing that started it all with a lot of families. It may be a backbone of companies, investments, what have you, and then really looking at all the different pieces and the brochures that you have, talk about legacy and everything else. Obviously, as we get into self-directed retirement accounts specifically, the one thing that your company does that I have seen along with whether it's the advisors or just straight with you and everybody else tied to the company, is that it allows the folks that interface to have more control, which is what we like to be able to explain to our clientele, is that the difference in what they may think they have as self-direction with more of the traditional investment houses compared to being able to use their true self-directed account is that they have more control over the investments that they're making instead of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And somebody who might understand why one stock is $10 a share one day and the next week it's 12, but they don't know why. Well, there's a lot of folks that are our clients that definitely understand the why and have the know-how in investing in real estate or being private money lenders with their retirement accounts, or they want to invest in private equities, which is actually something we can talk about here in just a second. But it's that control that they have that make them feel that they have really a better direction of how they can use their funds. Tell us a little bit about why Epic reached out to American IRA and how you see our individual clients or how they can benefit. What is the interface like with an American IRA client and Epic? Or is it going to be more of, if folks, your advisors, your financial advisors, they now know that they have another tool, another piece that they can say, hey, look, if you're doing this, did you know that you can also do this? And by the way, here's the company. It seems like you're creating such a cool network that it is almost spider webbing that brings everybody back to the hub of, hey, it's that one-stop shop. So if you can just talk a little bit about the interface of what that would look like about somebody considering a self-directed account and being able to have it connected to Epic.
Yeah. So that's a great segue, and I'm glad we're getting into this part of it. But we reached out to American IRA originally because we were already raising capital for this incredible business model that we have. It's obviously 6 years, so that tells you a startup. But the SaaS model and the startups that are happening out there right now in my space, in the estate planning space, there's no shortage of them. I'll give a shout out, if you will, or one of my competitors who I still to this day am amazed that they've somehow been able to raise $73 million for trust and will. But especially when you compare it to our entire comprehensive one-stop shop arena. But, we reached out to you originally because, we were taking investment money but we were only taking investment money with those non-qualified accounts. And we know the trillions of dollars of IRAs and 401ks and things that are out there of clients who could invest, but we needed to have that tool. We needed to have that conduit of which American IRA allows for us for our convertible note that allows people to invest in something that is, an alternative, if you will. Year over year, we're up over 500% in revenue, which has been obviously phenomenal for us. And then the attraction that's happening for advisors that are tapping into our infrastructure has been unbelievable. Their clients that they're going out and sharing with our estate planning solution is being adopted and being purchased. So that's generating revenue. But we wanted to be able to have access to those qualified dollars. And without having a true conduit like American IRA gives us, we couldn't facilitate and bring on more qualified dollars through our convertible note. Otherwise, without, partnering up, if you will, and making that available through our network and then ultimately through American IRA. So that's why we sought you in the first place. We did a lot of research. There's a lot of solutions, a lot of, options that are out there, but bumper to bumper from all the research we did, Kyle, you there and, American IRA and just your entire infrastructure was an ideal fit for us.
That's very humbling. And where I'm just the one person on the screen right now, I will tell you that I will make sure that everyone from the CEO all the way to all of our admin staff knows that. I'm just the mouthpiece here. But I speak for our entire company when I say we really appreciate that. There's a lot that goes into that. And the one thing at American IRA that I can really talk, well, there's a lot of things. I've been here a long time. And that I can talk about our company really quickly is that where you are offering that one-stop shop through your company, we offer that hometown bank feel, that there are so many things, that folks can really have that one-stop shop with American IRA, whether that is going to be referred over from Carter and his team, you and Earl and anybody else, or any of those advisors where they can refer someone over knowing that they're going to turn right back around and they want to make an investment into this capital raise that Carter's talking about. Oh, and by the way, is it just that? No. If somebody also wants to realize that they can invest in real estate, or if they want to invest their funds into other private lending, get into syndication deals, or even precious metals, they can absolutely do that. And then if they, thought, well, hey, I kind of heard that I can invest my funds through the use of an IRA-owned LLC. It's known on the street, as I call it, as the checkbook IRA. Well, our sister company, Turnkey IRA, offers that as well. So what's great is that we have that hometown bank feel. We know where we all started from, but we offer so much and do it in the way of the education. That is what's really big. It's the education that it does empower folks to be able to move forward. And the more and more that I think we research each other's companies, it's like, wow, it's like we've seen this. We do this. It's in different arenas, but I think for the overall goal, which is for the client and what can be offered to them. So now that's really great. And I'm glad that we can really be a go-to for your clientele and ultimately for you as well. One thing I wanted to look at is that, let's say somebody does want to, maybe they come to American IRA from one of your advisors. And so their IRA is now a piece to the estate planning that an advisor is helping them with. Tell me a little bit about, and if we can, with IRAs, with the self-directed IRAs, they have their beneficiaries that are listed. How would Epic or an advisor be able to interface with, say, the security that we have with American IRA? Because right now, I will tell you, I think that really no matter any age anymore, people are all about the security and who can talk about things and how folks can interface with their accounts. And then I also think about my parents who are in their 80s who don't do anything online. They're scared, and there's so many people like them that are just scared of not doing any online banking or anything else. Is that, tell us a little bit about your cloud security and what folks can expect if they knew that their future based on all of their past is now going to be funneling through Epic.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that I continually am pleasantly surprised with, because a lot of our clientele are the boomer age, and they're 65, 75, 85. Our oldest client on our digital platform is 91 years old, right? And it all started with, well, I need to get my affairs in order. That's how it starts. And then part of our revocable living trust that we create also internally, and this is just part of every one of the plans that we do, it includes an IRA beneficiary trust, right? Because you've got those Secure Act 2.0 that happened, a few years ago, and you've got, certain conditions that have to be met. You've got to be able to have a see-through trust to be able to do those distribution and all that different distribution language. And of course, that could change also. That's the uniqueness of our platform, is that when, not if, when changes occur, once you become one of our clients, you're forever one of our clients, and you have the ability to make unlimited changes inside of the client portal that you'll have access to. And I think one of the things that attracted me also, right, wrong, or indifferent, is that our colors are similar, right? That like red, white, and blue. Well, right. They're not going to change much when they get into their client portal. It's all red, white, and blue. Epic's colors are red, white, and blue, right? So, but they're going to be able to have access to that. We're going to be able to know exactly, where they're at in their life and their asset base and how much they're worth. But it's what happens post deceased that we pride ourselves in, right? Being able to make sure that we're doing those distribution, properly. And there's a specialization to distribution, and most clients need to know what those options are. We provide that education for them for the inevitable of the beneficiaries that are going to receive those self-directed funds or IRA funds or not qualify, whatever the case may be, right? We pride ourselves in educating those grantors on the options that they have for why sometimes they want to keep assets in trust, right? And that's why we utilize Nevada, because we can keep those assets in trust for up to 365 years. Most people don't know this. And this may be a mind blow for those that are listening, whether you live in, Florida, or whether you live in, California, you can cite us or have that body of law wherever you determine, much in the same way that 64% of all Fortune 500 companies are domiciled in Delaware. And it's because they have the most business-friendly environment. Well, Nevada, not only have they codified everything that we do on this digital platform, Nevada revised statutes, but it's also afforded to you as an American to be able to have whatever jurisdiction you want. So we utilize Nevada for many, many different benefits and many, many different reasons that you can learn about on our website here. So that is a differentiator for us. It's a differentiator for our advisors, whether they're working with their clients, locally or have expanded out post-COVID. They now can go out and start working with clients all over the country, right? Where they can work with a client that they want to invest their money in California, even though they may be actually domiciled or locally in Florida or North Carolina, whatever the case may be. Well, we can meet them where they're at. We can meet the advisors and the advisors' clients wherever they're at and get their affairs in order and have this very secure cloud environment for all of their financial and their estate planning needs.
No, that's awesome. One of the things that I always get, people say, "Hey, listen, are you down here in Biloxi, or are you over here or up here in Pocatello, or hey, do you have clients in California?" And it's because either how they've seen us online, but they may be thinking, "Well, I've never seen this, on the street corner or whatever." And it's like I tell folks, "Hey, self-direction, unlike banks that you might see in town with different kiosks or different locations, that's not that's not how self-directed companies work. However, I like folks to know, but you are able to have your self-directed retirement account investing in and wherever you live, do business, and so on and so forth. And that's one thing we like folks to know, because I think that they think sometimes, why I'm landlocked, I can't do this here, when in all actuality, we have clients in all 50 states and some expats out there. I was going to ask you about some education things that you may see in the individuals, of things that they might not know, and you already tapped into that. So let me just ask you this really quick. I know that we're running down on some time, and we're definitely going to have to make sure we do this again in the next year. And already, like I said, I'm excited about the webinar presentation that we're going to be getting from you. But if you could tell us, you mentioned about as we're heading into this season, Thanksgiving, time with family, and then also leading up to the end of the year. And obviously people aren't going to see this today. It is going to, whenever they see it and want to pull it back up. So whether it's, year end here, or even next year that they want to pull this up and watch it again, what are some things out there, one or two or three points that you might have that you would point out to folks of what they need to know going into year end before the turn of the year?
Well, I mean, before the turn of the year, the main thing is, what we really, again, pride ourselves in, and you talked about it at the top of the show, it's really about accessibility, right? It's bringing to the marketplace access to education that primarily has been reserved for, the uber wealthy, if you will, right? We wanted to make an impact on, again, what we call the mass affluent demographic, educating them on different type of charitable deductions. If they're looking for some tax and risk mitigation strategies, our team can help facilitate that. And again, we lead with education. That's the most important part of everything that we do. We want to give as much education as necessary. And I mean, the financial industry and the financial world is very complex, right? There's a lot of complexity to it. And people, regular, everyday people, right? Working men and women of America, or retirees, they don't have time to figure out all this stuff. So by being able to coalesce and bring together this entire ecosystem of specialists around risk and tax mitigation, strategies, those are the types of things that we proactively do, primarily, again, through our advisor network, who taps in to, again, it's impossible to be a specialist in everything, right? You have CPAs, you have, tax attorneys that are even different. You have estate planning attorneys, you have financial advisors, you have insurance agents, right? You have all these different, siloed out solutions. And what we really wanted to do was bring all those things together. So whether it be looking for like a QCD, qualified charitable deduction, that you're trying to get before the end of the year, look into, something like that. Whether you're looking to start a donor advised fund, whatever it is, there's so many different options. But the one thing holds true for every one of our clients: if they have any amount of assets and they care what happens to those assets when they're no longer here, tapping into our education on the front end, education heavy, that's the things that we really truly want to bring accessible to those demographics. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't work with clients that are uber wealthy, that are adopting this cloud environment, estate planning solution. But we want to make this available to the everyday man and woman as well. And that's what we do. And it's this one-stop shop environment around what we call a multidisciplinary team approach, because it's impossible to be, a specialist in every single area. You have to surround yourself with people that pride themselves in specific lanes that they are just living in and day out.
No, and for those of you that are out there and are interested in knowing more, I know that you saw their website scroll by earlier. Always go out and check, because one of Carter's latest blogs out there talks about, I think it was like 4 things that you can do to get ready, whether it's either opening a Roth or converting to a Roth. Another one was out there was talking about Oh yeah, there you go. The planning ahead, the four key financial moves before year end, and one of those was the HSA. Always remember, a little plug for my team at American IRA here is that, believe it or not, you can do every single bit of that with a self-directed IRA. So if you're looking to diversify current portfolios that you have and you want to be able to either beef up your Roth to invest in the non-traditional asset, or you want to have an HSA that can also partner with, say, your self-directed Roth or a self-directed traditional, then guess what? You're able to take an HSA, a Coverdell for the kids, the Roth, the traditional, solo 401k, if that applies to you, any business owner with no full-time employees, whatever the retirement vehicle is out there, we have the self-directed version of it that you're able to diversify your portfolio into and then turn right around and invest in that capital raise with Carter and his team. Well, Carter, listen, I can't thank you again enough. I'm so glad that we finally got to see each other face to face with the technology. I mean, let's talk about it, right? I mean, I remember a couple months ago, about 3 months ago, I was at a convention, and when I ran into one of my colleagues that actually I first met him on this show, and I saw him face to face for the first time, it took us a second to realize, oh, wait a minute. We're finally now seeing each other face to face after flying across the country. And that's where we first got together. So you know what? Hopefully that's going to happen with you and I and our teams one day in the future. But until then, we appreciate the new relationship. We appreciate the fact that we're going to be able to take care of your clients and ultimately your team as a whole. So any parting words as we head out for Thanksgiving and the end of the year for everybody, Carter?
No, the only thing that I will share with you, we are without exception the most comprehensive plan on the planet, and I don't say that lightly, because one of the things is, I'll leave with you, and you can check this out on our website. We talk about legacy stories, and this is a company that was formed in the early 2000s that I purchased, that I wanted to have part of every one of our estate plans, because how you pass on your valuables, right? How you pass on your valuables is with estate planning and financial plan, right? But how you pass on your values was not an afterthought for us, right? This was intentional. So we wanted to be able to take all those things in someone's head and in their heart, the things that made them who they are, right? All that history. We wanted to give them a place to be able to document all those things, because here's the sad truth. This is the reality. When you pass, all those things that are in your head, in your heart, the things you care about, the values that you hold dearly, that you want to teach and inspire to other generations that follow you, right? That is the thing that we never wanted to lose sight of. And that is the thing that it dies with you when you no longer have it. So we give you the ability to document your entire life without you feeling overwhelmed. They're small little legacy story prompts that we go through. It's basically a 100-day onboarding procedure. And then after that, it's a weekly, we give you these little prompts that go into your own legacy stories portal that will live forever. Because as I've said many times, wealth, divorced from the wisdom that created it, is all too often wasted by those who inherit it. And legacy stories is that bridge that helps those legacies and those assets live longer.
Whenever you are folks, if this is you, and if it's not you, it's going to affect someone that you know, and they're not always the easiest conversations to have. But they will become very prudent. And you never know the situation that you're going to be put in to have those. And so I challenge all of you to start just thinking about what those conversations might be like when you're with family, and, share it with your friends as well. But whatever it might, whatever journey you're on, and however that might lead you, to take a look at Carter's website on that you just saw scrolling there, and learn more about it and reach out to him for more of the now. If you are looking to diversify your portfolio and you have some questions about self-direction, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. You are more than welcome to do that. You can visit our website again at www.americanira.com. Spend some time in there, get some education, read some articles. Again, you can find us on YouTube and any of your favorite social media platforms. Well, Carter, listen, again, it was a pleasure. I hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving. For some folks that are going to be seeing this, Thanksgiving will be past, but then we will be on to Christmas. So for all of the holidays, we wish you and your family and everybody at your company the absolute best. And for everyone at American IRA, I'm Kyle Moody. And once again, we love being able to bring these presentations to you of the IRA Cafe, powered by American IRA. So from all of us to all of you, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
American IRA, LLC, a North Carolina LLC, acts as a third-party administrator for New Vision Trust Company, a state-chartered South Dakota trust company. As a neutral self-directed IRA administrator, American IRA does not recommend or endorse any investments, individuals, or entities, including financial representatives, promoters, or companies. American IRA and the IRA Cafe are not responsible for other statements, representations, or agreements, nor do we evaluate the quality or profitability of any investment. American IRA does not endorse guests on the IRA Cafe podcast. Guest opinions are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of American IRA, its subsidiaries, associates, or custodian. Participation in the podcast is voluntary and no compensation is provided. American IRA is not a fiduciary and cannot offer financial advice. Please consult your CPA or another professional before making financial decisions.